Hey friends, it's Carl again with another Calm Survival, and I carry too much stuff. Yep, that's an admission that I'm happy to make. It's one of those things that just comes from habit and just sort of the way all of my life has just sort of happened. Now, I'm just going to show you guys a few of sort of the bags that have been sort of the general purpose junk haulers that I've used over the last several years. Probably the better part of the last decade. So this is just going to give you a bit of an idea, and then we will break some of this down a little bit farther when we're talking about putting together certain types of kits for certain purposes. Okay? Now, I carried this bag for quite a while. Obviously, you got a water bottle holder. You got lots of different ways to organize it. Right now, this one just has some grab on the way out of the door stuff. Completely bonkers flashlight, way more batteries. But essentially, this one is just sort of a going off wandering somewhere, throw it in the car, and I kind of know what I have kind of kit. Also happens to be somewhat along the lines of if I knew I had to leave the house in the next 10 seconds, at least I know that I've got some stuff sort of parked together that I can work with from there. Now, obviously, this one's pretty big, and I've had this mistaken as a camera bag more often than not. One of the things that you should know, however, between this and one of the other bags I'm going to show you is that a lot of people will instantly recognize this bag, and they will recognize this sleeve that is in the back here. And depending on where you live, this thing screams, I'm carrying a handgun. Now, I've never lived in one of those places. It's never really been a factor for me. And this one is also kind of the more civilized looking styles of the bags, especially the color palette, kind of gives it that camera bag kind of look. But that is something that would be of a consideration because it's got a single strap, and because of the size of the container, you can, one, put way more in here than you can comfortably carry all day in it. But if it's just sort of a tool bag, which I've also used it for, where you can just set it down somewhere, it's got some nice organizational structure. That's not really in reference to this bag, more this style. Every manufacturer makes something that is in this same sort of vibe. Downside is that the main compartment is reasonably small to put something like a rain jacket or a spare coat in, things like that. So it's a bit small. And so when I lived in colder climates, this was definitely more of the summertime bag. And my wintertime bag had more space. It was a bigger backpack that had just this small amount of stuff in it. Okay, small is a relative term, but had room to throw in an extra bag or an extra jacket or warmer stuff, because that was a concern then. When I moved to Australia, still carried this for quite a while, but you can't really tuck a raincoat anywhere in here conveniently. So over time, this one dropped by the wayside. And we've got this one. Obviously, this one's a bit more military looking. But again, it's got that space in the back that some people will just, it's what this is marketed for, so they will know that instantly. And yes, I will fully admit I have carried a purse for the last very long time. Why we have such gendered terms for things baffles me greatly, because it makes no sense to me. Yeah, it's a bag, and I carried a bag. I carried a purse. I'm sure that the person who was needing my first aid kit was really upset by the fact that a dude was carrying a bag. You know, get over yourselves. A little bit of organization, a lot less space. This one was easier to pack right full and not get overweight because it's quite small. But again, you get some limits to what you're going to carry. Where I live, water is of concern to carry, and water is heavy. So that's part of it. But definitely have used this also as a tool bag. One of the benefits of making, purchasing decisions before you start to think about how things look is that you then end up with really rugged bags that you can fill with tools and people don't carry about. But this one definitely, I've gotten some looks while carrying it in, whatever. Having somebody mistake it for carrying a handgun, probably bigger consequences. Also, that's something that, look, in this day and age, I can probably get away with. A lot of other people can't. That's a factor. This is the current Bag o' Doom. This is a Fjallraven of their little fox. This is called, I believe, the High Coast 28. And basically what we've got is a canvas bag. So it's waxed. So it's a little bit weather resistant. Yeah, when it rains here, it comes down solidly. But I'll be honest, the other bags that I've used don't really resist water all that well either, even some of the more waterproofy ones, unless they're perfect. So throw it anywhere, go anywhere, and carry the stuff you need. Now, why do I carry a bag? Well, one, most of my jobs have involved carrying some sort of tools or supplies. It's just, my life has been that kind of a thing. I have not had very many jobs that were at the same place every day. Even though they might be at the same property, I've never had you're going to be in the office all day, every day kind of jobs. The other thing is sort of a family trait. My dad's everyday carry literally was his pickup truck. It was just a rolling toolbox. But also, my mom carried a backpack. It was, with us kids, it was the diaper bag, it was her purse, it was, the everything. But that was just what she was familiar with, comfortable with. And because she was a nurse, there was always a few extra little bits and bobs. I don't think my mom has not carried a stethoscope pretty much every day of my life. So that's just sort of the thing. And you get used to carrying this stuff around. You get used to having it with you. And you get used to just being the person who has stuff. There's a lot of the purse carrying half of the population who are just used to having things with them. Okay, there's a certain point in time where somebody says, hey, I need a something. And you go, oh, look, I do have a bottle of hand sanitizer and some gum and some decongestant lozenges. And, there's a whole manner of things in the bag that are just there to make my life or anybody else's life easier. So that is a little bit of my philosophy on why I just all the time carry way too much crap. You don't need to. You carry what you feel is necessary, but use that as a jumping off point of, hey, if I'm not going to carry this bag because I don't need to carry a bag, I exist between my office desk, my home, and my car, well, what do I want in all three of those places? And maybe make sure that you have that in all three of those places. You'd be surprised at how often we have something, we know something exists, it's there somewhere, but it's not in the place we needed it. So keep that in mind. I mean, it also is a cultural thing too, depending on where you live in the world. If you've ever lived somewhere where you can't leave anything in your car, you're probably way more of a backpack person. Or if you do public transit, you're probably more of a backpack person. And, you know, that's just what it is. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with enjoying owning a good bag, what for carrying stuff in. I have a bag full, and I'm not joking. It's just the way things work. So I've been Carl. This has been Calm Survival. Hopefully I've given you a couple of ideas to think about. We'll catch you on the next one.